Okay. Electrical engineers also, we have opportunities in the industry, manufacturing, manufacturing of electrical equipment like circuit breakers. So you would see this, those who go into the OEMs like Siemens, Schneider Electric, ABB, Hitachi. These companies manufacture huge electrical equipment, transformers that are costing millions of dollars to build. And we have the automobile industry. Some people also mention automobile. They want to go into automobile, food processing, beverages, electronics and semiconductors, chemicals and pharmaceuticals. And then aerospace. Um, who doesn't want to go into aerospace? So even though aerospace engineering is a separate thing, but they also need electrical engineers to work in the facility. Okay, let's talk about oil and gas. Somebody mentioned they want to work in Kuwait oil and gas industry. That's great to know. So in oil and gas, electrical engineers have opportunities. No machines could work without electricity. So far as I know, every machine will need power to work, even medical devices. And I'm glad to actually have a friend of mine who is a medical doctor who is on this webinar. He's he's also interested in electrical engineering, so he joined us in this webinar. Thank you, Doc, for coming. So in oil and gas, we have others who go into drilling and production, gas processing, oil refineries. In substation and utilities, we have other engineers who would only work in the utilities. So when I talk about utilities, utilities could be like the power distribution companies that are actually distributing electricity to customers, to hospitals, banks, schools, and factories. So that level is distribution. They usually will supply this electricity at a lower voltage. And then you have transmission, others who also go into transmission. Transmission is actually the infrastructure that takes the electricity from power plant. So if you produce a power at the generation facility, the voltage at the generation station is usually lower. But in order to transmit to longer distances across countries and regions, you need to actually step up the voltage to a higher voltage. And as such, you need a transmission infrastructure. And we all have seen these huge transmission towers across 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 the cities. When you drive, you see all these big transmission towers taking the power from the substation, the generation substation, all along. And then that is also being stepped down to a lower level before it is distributed to customers. So if you are an electrical engineer, you can as well go into distribution that is focused on supplying power to customers, or go into transmission that is also involved in taking power from generation, or you can go into generation that actually produces the power itself. And then the other sectors I mentioned. So there is abundant opportunity, but the problem is, how do you help yourself by placing yourself into any of these industries? You need to take inventory of your skills. I'll come back to that level. You need to actually know who you are. Okay. Next. So this, you see a substation that looks very nice. I will not play this video. I'll continue to the next slide. And technical skills. We as engineers need to know what skills are important, or what are the tools that are important and will make a difference. Remember, when you are graduating and looking for a job, why are you looking for a job? For us, we may be thinking we need a job in order to make money. We need to make money to survive. But remember, the companies do not That is not their main concern. The company, every company is employing you to come and solve a problem. Every company is employing you to come and help the company to grow. So that is the mindset you need. You need to have the mindset of what can I do to help the company to progress, and not necessarily the money. So in my interaction with other students across different places, different countries, most of them, some of them will say they need money, but it is not about the money. You need to think about what you can do. So here I just put together some technical skills that you need. It all depends on the industry. Some industry may require you to have some skills, other industries may not. So this is not an exhaustive list. I just put this together just to demonstrate to you that you may need an AutoCAD, especially in the early part of your career. You need to know how to draw electrical single lines. You need to know how to draw layouts, and other industries you may need to know how to use ETAB. And ETAB is a power system software. I'm sure some of you know about ETAB. We have PSCAD, PSSCE, we have Tara, and then protection softwares like QuickSet, as a related QuickSet. And that is actually for XEL. You need to also know some automation tools. So automation tools, you might be, let's say, RTAX, real-time automation controllers. Some other softwares are Neplan, MATLAB, Sign, PowerWorld, Aspen, Dixie Silence, WinIGS, SKM Power Tools. And then as well, you might also want to know some standard that are in the industry. These standards are actually what guide most of the industries in practice actually depend on industry standard. So what industry standard does is that it gives you an established minimum requirement for doing some engineering in practice, so that you don't have every country doing something different. We want to have a standard where people who are in Europe, if Europeans are depending on the IEC standard, what is done in France could actually be done. Let's say the same can be applied in Germany or Sri Lanka or China. And then IEEE applies almost every country or jurisdiction. So these are some of the technical skills you need to know. And the next one is the most important, which we engineers usually do not pay attention to, is the soft skills. And I was very happy to see most of you answered the question by saying soft skills. Remember, I always say this: the technical skills will get you into the job, but what will actually keep you in the job and what will actually make you progress in the job is your soft skills. You need to learn how to communicate effectively in your team. So it's not only communication, but effective communication. For instance, if you are working in a group and your teammate wants something from you, they send you a message or a Teams chat. How do you respond to that? Do you wait and respond the following day, or do you respond at any time that you want? So you need to know, okay, do you have to be very responsive and respond to the person and not wait over 24 hours and keeping the person in suspense? If you don't communicate effectively, your team may not be happy, and that is very dangerous. Active listening, problem solving. I mentioned earlier on, no company is employing you to come in and just sit in the office and do nothing. They are actually employing you to solve their problem. So you actually get paid for solving problems. And so the more you solve difficult problems, then that is where you make more money. Your income will never be more than the type of problems that you solve. So if you are only solving simple problems, then you get a lower pay. If you solve difficult problems, then you get higher pay. So problem solving is one of the skills that we need to actually learn as engineers. We need to learn to be a team player, be able to work with people in your group, You need to learn how to resolve